Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Cutting off your nose to spite your face. That is what I want to deal with today. The announcement this morning that the State Department will have a 15% cutback in personnel on top of cutbacks that have taken place previously is just astounding. We are gutting our diplomatic corps. We are gutting the very core that has helped to generate American foreign policy for years. And what is going on with FEMA? Now, the Trump administration, which had originally called for the dismantlement of FEMA, is saying, wait, hold on. Maybe we need to keep FEMA because, well, what happened in Texas demonstrated the importance of FEMA and its good work. And wait, what about NOAA? What about weather control? Well, obviously, there have been major cuts at NOAA. And now the administration is saying, well, wait a minute. Maybe we need to stop and think about all of this. And of course, what we now know is a strategic effort by the Republicans to essentially cover up what these cuts mean by postponing the implementation of many of these cutbacks until after the midterm elections. I am going to say something now that I regret. I do not trust that there will be a logical, clear, precise outcome to these cutbacks in a fair way for the American people. The deception that is being used by this administration and the Republicans in Congress is so astounding to me that I will now make a statement that, well, may shock you. It is unprecedented in the history of American politics. We have never seen such a duplicitous Congress and a White House that is part of this process of covering up. In saying this, I do so with deep regret because certainly in the days ahead, we are going to see more and more impact by these cutbacks. And the question is, will there be an assigned blame? I don't mean a blame because I want to play the blame game, but because of the practical impact of these kinds of moves. This affects us in foreign policy, in domestic policy, and now we know that the Supreme Court is going to reconsider the question of the Voting Rights Act and how the Voting Rights Act is applied, because the attempt to increase representation by minorities, particularly African Americans in various parts of this country in the South, well, Clarence Thomas's view, it appears, may well prevail in the next session of the Supreme Court. Do you understand? Well, do I understand the full impact of the Trump revolution? And that's what I want to call it. Those of us who are old enough remember the Reagan Revolution of 1981 and beyond. But the impact of the Reagan Revolution is nothing compared to what the Trump revolution is now about to cause. Actually, it is happening even as I speak. There is a question about full disclosure. Trump clearly does not want full disclosure. In fact, he obfuscates on so many issues, it's astounding. But we have now a case that can be made that the disruption being caused by Trump's great, big, beautiful bill, on top of what people in his administration, including the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, are now doing to various departments, will hurt us profoundly over years and years. Indeed, I would suggest generations. The America that you and I have worked for, the America that you and I have believed in, is facing the ultimate challenge. The challenge is now before us. And the simple fact is that we don't know how it's going to end. We don't know what will happen. We don't know whether in the midterm elections, if in fact the Democrats are able to take control of the House and the Senate, whether or not their takeover will make a difference. A lot of what is happening now is being institutionalized. What bothers me more than anything else is the fact that Trump is getting away with it. The Republicans are getting away with it. And there seems to be no real consequence. I am going to watch this weekend what happens in Ukraine. I am going to watch what happens with the Middle East talks, which evidently are going nowhere. It appears that while the Israelis have agreed to certain terms they may not particularly like, but they are prepared to do in order to try to get the hostages back and to ameliorate the problems in Gaza, Hamas is not prepared to do. And that means that conflicts are going to grow and continue. And that is, my friends, the result of Donald Trump's policies. And I say that directly. He has been in office now long enough that the accountability for his actions should be upon him. And a quick word about Jeffrey Epstein. I have to say it because I've avoided it. I've never really felt it all that relevant. But Alan Dershowitz says he knows what this list is relative to Epstein, but that he is bound by a court order not to reveal it. And Donald Trump says, what list? Epstein? Who cares? There is something rotten in this administration. And I'm not saying it because I'm a critic of Donald Trump. I'm saying it because we hold these truths to be self-evident. And it is evident now in what is happening. This is not an easy podcast for me to do. But all I can tell you is we are in for some very rough sledding. And we can thank Donald Trump and his administration for providing us, well, a real story. Can't wait to read the book when it's written on the Trump Revolution. Talk about a president who has had an impact on American life, and that impact is going to continue, even when he's gone, for years to come. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, of course, is our goal. You can interact with me on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can email me directly. Many of you do, and you call me as well. And I welcome that because it is that interaction which makes Around the Political World a success. Make sure to follow along. Let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. I say it over and over again, but it's true. And now to Gogo Zoger. Gogo, thanks so much. She is the producer of this program and does such a great job. Well, have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Heaven only knows where the world will be, but you will know because the political world, as defined by the actions taking place in the world today, will all be discussed on Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you Monday.